then at the top six as it stands at the moment, because there is this race for the top four. There are only two places really that are up for grabs, and you can see how it looks at the moment. Chelsea on 66 and Tottenham on 64, closely contended. Arsenal on 63 and Manchester United on 61. Why don't we focus on Chelsea for a second?
Let's do it. Why not?
Let's do it, Emma. And we'll have a look at their run-in as well, because actually it's not necessarily an easy run-in. I mean, are there any easy run-ins anyway? But do you see them being able to do this and get to a top four position?
Yes, I do. I think we have to talk about the club who used to being in this position. You know, they're accustomed for competing for trophies at the business end of the season. And even though there have been, at times, difficult circumstances with a new manager, they're third in the league. And they're arguably going to progress to the semi-finals of the Europa League and been in the final of a Carabao Cup. Well, that's considered a bad situation in the eyes of those outside. But for me, we're in a strong position inside the club. And I think they've got the experience and they've got the know-how. And I think blooding the likes of Callum and Ruben at the right time, Giroud, I think, has done well, especially in the Europa League. And I think there's enough quality in that group for the team to make the top four.
It's not just Chelsea that we want to focus on. We're going to focus on the other three teams in contention as well and just have a little look at their run-in. So, starting with Chelsea, Liverpool away, Burnley at home, followed by Manchester United away, Watford at home, and then the last game of the season in the Premier League is Leicester away. When you look at these fixtures, Matt, where do you think they're going to pick up points?
Oh, I think you can look at the obvious ones. You know, you'd have to say Burnley at home. Watford can be a very, you know, indifferent game at times, but you'd fancy them with Watford and with Leicester, and the other two matches are massive. You know, Liverpool away this
Except
weekend.
you mentioned their previous form. I mean, they've been unbeaten in the last 8 games.
What I will say is that they seem a far stronger team than what they were before Christmas for me, and I think the adversity that they've been through, especially the League Cup final and all of that, I think the manager's actually come through it a bit stronger. And I think they're actually better than what they were. That type of problem, which looked like it could be the end, has now actually strengthened them, and they've come through the other side a little bit.
Let's look at Spurs then, because there's some big fixtures that stand out there. City, they also have them to play in the Champions League, the second leg as well. Also, West Ham can be a little bit of a banana skin too.
Well, I'm going to eat my words and put my hat out and say Tottenham will not lose at their new stadium. I think the atmosphere inside their new home. So that's 12 points for me. Bournemouth away. Tottenham's got a good record away at Bournemouth, so I can see that. And it's Tottenham going to win 3 games in a row against Man City. No, they've won one of the 3. I think if they could qualify for the Champions League semi-final and lose the league game, I think Spurs fans will take that.
We spoke about Arsenal as well. I mean, none of the top 6, you saw it there. They're not facing any of the top 6. But it's not really that it's a concern. It's the away record in the Premier League.
Well, I think have they got 4 on the bounce?
They've got 4 away games out of the 6.
Yeah, 4 out of the 6. And that, to me, is a problem. Like you say, Ace, it's not so much about who they're playing. It's just their away form. And maybe, you know, matches like the Everton one, an away game at Napoli, I think will maybe help them figure out, or the manager figure out, who is the best player, what is the best personnel, because I think he kind of knows the shape. It's just about picking the right character to go and get a result at any different stadium. And if he can get that right, then they're in with a shout.
Manchester United, if we just saw there, potentially on paper has the most difficult run-in. West Ham, Everton, City, Chelsea, Huddersfield and Cardiff. It gets a little bit easier towards the end there. They've also got to play Barcelona again in the second leg of the Champions League. The form has dipped slightly at the moment after Ole signed his official contract and he was permanent manager. What do you make of their performances recently?
Well, I think he's doing the best with the group that he's got, and I think you're only as good as your players, and that's the reality. I mean, watching them the other night against Barcelona, interestingly setting up, you know, in a 3-5-2 and defending well and congesting the central areas, but still didn't do enough, I felt, to trouble Barcelona. They're going to go away to the new camp and do it. Well, the game's only 1-0, so they're still in it. I think the problem they're going to face is that to find wins from a position where they're already 3 points outside of the top 4, knowing they've got City, which I think they have to win. Chelsea, massive, massive game for them. And ultimately, I think it's Everton away. I think that will be the defining end of their season, and then sandwiched between that, obviously, the Barcelona game. But I think it will be really, really tough for United to make it.
Different to what you'd kind of say maybe 3-4 weeks ago. It was like they had a head of steam, and you know they looked like they couldn't lose a game if they tried. But
what's changed?
What's changed? I don't think that I don't think the impact, the bounce that you get as a new manager lasts forever. I think it's a temporary thing, and I think that happened. And to all credit to the manager and to his team for getting the players in that mindset to go out and perform and win matches. I think ultimately you're going to hit some kind of dip. I think there's some unrest with players in terms of what's happening next season.
Goals are drying up.
Absolutely, but also like what you said earlier, I don't think their squad is that strong in terms of the quality. I think they've got a lot of players, they've spent a lot of money, but when you look at the squad and the players, especially defensively, I just don't think they're.
We wouldn't have
as good.
predicted even last night. Luke Shaw going left-sided centre back in a back three with Fred in front, Pogba and McTominay, who was outstanding for United. Yeah. I think they're struggling, and even in the wide areas with Ashley Young, I think they need more strength and depth. Yeah. You know, they need to strengthen in the summer, which sounds ludicrous considering how much investment there's been the past 2 seasons, but they're going to need to if they're going to kick on. And I think if they achieve the top 4, then fair play, because I think that is a significant recovery from them from Christmas.
I'm going to ask you both a difficult question, and tell me who you think will be the 2 that will secure top 4.
Well, I'm going to say a team that I really think will be in the top 4, and that's Spurs. I think Spurs, out of all of them, are, for me, the favourite to achieve, just looking at their fixtures, and they're going to get a bounce, or they've had a bounce and a good feeling with their new stadium. I think they've waited a long time. It's been a big thing for them, and it's a fabulous place. And I think, I agree with Emma that I don't think they're going to lose a home game, or they're going to win all 4 home games. Yeah. It's going to see them through.
So Spurs is one.
Yep.
Who's the other?
Over to you.
Definitely Chelsea.
You divided them.
Definitely Chelsea. Listen, I'm not going to sit here and not back my club. I think Chelsea are in a good run of form, rich run, which has seen them, win quite a lot on the bounce, and I think they're in a good position. And I think one step away from the semi-final of the Europa League. My money's on Chelsea and Tottenham.